think forgiving others is easier because you are able to separate the person from the thing. So you can say to somebody, and inherently, when we love other people, we're like, we trust their intentions. So we were like, she didn't mean to make me feel bad. So it wasn't that this person is malicious. So the thing that they did is not who they are.
What is something you've had to learn to forgive yourself for?
Not trusting my instinct. God is so gracious that women, we're so gentle. He didn't make us very physically strong, but he made us very intuitively strong. So our inner voice, or like your I don't know what it is, your gut instinct, as we call it, is your saving grace. Like it's God whispering, and I always call it my God whispers, but I'm just like, what is he whispering to me at that point in time? And I'm just my opinion, but like.
Now, how has being kinder to yourself actually changed the way you move through pain?
I've become familiar with my pain. I think lots of people will think that, having the softness you're required to ignore your pain. You have to ignore your pain. I've sat down with my pain. I've had conversations with my pain. I've got to know my pain.
That is very powerful.
And in that way, I was able to navigate and heal from my pain.
Hello, I'm your host, Mbali Matwe. Today's conversation is a very tender one and also a very necessary one. We're talking about self-compassion, the art of learning to be gentle with yourself, especially in a world that often teaches us to be hard and constantly pushing. And I'm not having this conversation alone. I'm joined by someone very special to me, a dear friend of mine, Danny, whose heart, honesty, and lived experience brings so much depth to this topic. Dan, thank you so much for being here, friend.
It's such a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, we are talking self-compassion, the art of learning how to be gentle with yourself. And I really, really thought, there's no other person that's better to have this conversation other than you, because I have seen how much you value doing the inner work. You believe in doing the shadow work. And you've always been someone who's always just gravitated towards the idea of self-mastery. And I thought, you know what, if there's anybody I need to be having this conversation with, it is yourself. So I'm very happy that you're here. And I'm actually very excited about this topic because I think it's something we don't speak enough about. Definitely. So thank you again, friend, for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So I guess before we start, I'd like you to introduce yourself to our viewers.
I'm Danny Delport. My name's actually Danielle, but everybody calls me Danny. I am a chronic overthinker by day and by night. My day job, however, is a marketer, and I'm a very proud mom of an 11-year-old boy who will probably be embarrassed by something I say today. So, hello, monkey.
So cute. Hi, Cole. So, friend,
Yes.
What is self-compassion?
Compassion is such like a word that we, I guess, glance or gloss over. It's such a word that carries so much weight. Lots of people confuse it with kindness, but for me, compassion is just seeing like your humanity and your humanness and accepting the fact that mistakes happen, you're going to make mistakes. It's so easy to extend compassion to others, and like self-compassion is this thing that while you're working on yourself, you still need to be very kind to yourself, very dear to yourself, and also just be patient with yourself. Yeah, there's an inherent patience that comes with compassion. Patient with yourself, and then I think very just loving. Like it's always undertone of compassion is just continuing to be loving towards yourself, regardless of how you show up, the mistakes you make. The fact that progress is, you're still making progress, and even when there's no progress, just be kind to yourself.
I love it.
That's my definition of what it is.
Now, do you feel you've always been gentle with yourself, or was something you've had to learn in your journey?
I think it's something definitely that I had to learn over time. I am exceptionally hard on myself. And it's been a long, long journey, like trying to be a lot more compassionate and kinder to myself. I think we as women are always taught to, white knuckle it. And with that, like endurance and like I'm going to call it endurance and like pushing through and powering through, we forget self. And so we never learned how to be compassionate with ourselves, because like you need to do regardless. Like you need to show up regardless, no matter how much you feel. So we really feel like there's no space for compassion. So definitely something that I've had to learn over time.
It's a journey, right?
Long,
and we don't
long
always
journey.
get it right, but literally.
No.
And in watching your journey, I've seen how intentional you are about just being kind and gentle to yourself. It's actually very beautiful to witness.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. I really do. Now, what season of your life would you say taught you the need for self-compassion? Is there any specific moment you remember when you were just like, you know what, I actually do need to practice the art of gentleness and the idea of just being kind to myself, as I do extend a kindness easily to others? Because we do, right?
We do. You're very right. We do extend kindness to people very easily. It was actually becoming a mom, to be quite honest. I realized that there was somebody watching me and watching how I talk to myself. And that was inherently going to become the way he talks to himself and how he treats himself. Children don't learn by you telling them. So I can tell Cole so many times, like, you are wonderful, you are gifted, you are graceful, you are all these wonderful things. And yes, that becomes part of our inner voice, but kids learn by watching. And I felt like there was so much more pressure for me to love myself better because I was teaching him how to love himself in the way that I was doing it. So that was the time. I remember like a little thing that I had said to myself, something in the kitchen that I was so frustrated with myself, and I'm like, oh, you're so stupid. You know, when you talk to yourself
so
out
harshly,
loud.
right?
And then he did something a couple of weeks later and he's like, oh, you're so stupid. And I was like, no. It ends here. And it's been a journey. It has been a journey. I think it's not to say that it's easy. And like you said earlier, we don't get it right all the time. But I think that's where the compassion comes in. And I think that was, for me, the turning point. Definitely.
Wow. I love it. Now, you know what, friend? Like growing up, we're taught strength. We're taught discipline. We are taught how to push forward. We're taught responsibility.
Yes.
But we're never really taught from an early age. Or actually, I don't even think we're generally taught how to be, again, gentle to ourselves, how to speak to ourselves with kindness, how to show ourselves compassion. Which brings me to my next question. I want us to talk about, I guess this part of the conversation is talking about the voice within us and how we speak to ourselves on a daily. Now, how do you usually talk to yourself on hard days?
In an English accent.
Oh my goodness. I'm unable to can.
My inner voice is British. And sometimes she's really mean.
Oh my God. OMG.
So, I think it used to be like, how I used to talk to myself is fundamentally different to how I talk to myself now. I think I've become so much more aware of that voice. And I think that's why I gave her a personality. I gave her, and we laugh about it, but I gave her an accent because I wanted it to feel like somebody outside of myself talking to myself.
That's so powerful.
So it felt like a bit of an outer body experience. And I'm like, if I would never let somebody in real life talk to me like that, why would I let this chick inside of me talk to me in that manner? So I think for me, recently it's been a little bit more balanced, and I check her. Like I'm like, okay, cool. Since you're outside of me, you're saying something I don't like and it's making me feel some kind of way. So then I'm able to respond to the voice and manage that voice a little bit better, because it's not like me talking to me. It's this inner me talking to me. So creating that distance and separation has helped me manage that voice a lot better recently.
I love that. So now do you find that more so than not, you now find yourself having real moments of tenderness towards yourself? Is that what you're finding?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and intentionally so. Like, I'm just like, no, that's not how we're going to talk about ourselves at this point in time. Yes, we did do a stupid thing. Yes, we did make a mistake, but that's not how we talk to ourselves.
Checking yourself.
And regulating yourself. And I think that's the important part. People always think that in order to be healthy, the voice has to be saying the right thing all the time, and the voice has to be kind. And yes, you'll get there, and we all will get there. But before that happens, it's about acknowledging that voice and also regulating and managing that voice until that voice changes, pretty much like how you would with any other human being that you're interacting with. Somebody, you have a friend that says something mean or is not nice to you, and you don't like the way they talk to you, you manage it with them. You have a conversation with them, and then you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's not how you say it.
Immediately.
Yes,
also,
immediately. And nip it in the bud.
Yeah.
And we catch it as it happens. And then it becomes so much more natural to do it
100%.
from that point onwards. Yeah.
I love it. All right. So I want us to move to self-forgiveness.
Oh.
Letting go of who we think we should have been.
Yeah.
That's, I think, is a very important discussion that needs to be had.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think forgiving ourselves is sometimes harder than forgiving others?
I think forgiving others is easier because you are able to separate the person from the thing. So you can say to somebody, and inherently when we love other people, we're like, we trust their intentions. So we were like, she didn't mean to make me feel bad. So it wasn't that this person is malicious.
Yeah.
So the thing that they did is not who they are.
We give them grace, right?
We do, but it's because of that intentional separation between the person and the thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is Mbali. Mbali did this thing, but this thing made me mad. Mbali, I still love.
Yeah, she's a good person.
She's a good person. So then when you apologize for the thing, Mbali apologizes for the thing, you're like, okay, cool, we're going to let that go.
Yeah.
But Mbali's still the person that I love. So it makes it so much easier to forgive other people. With ourselves, we define ourselves because we can't create that separation. Our actions become in our heads who we are. So our mistakes are defined as I am my mistakes and I am the person, I am dumb, and it's very owning words, like we use
So
very
harsh.
owning words and very harsh, like you said.
Yeah.
So whereas with other people, we are very clearly and able to say like, this person did a thing. That person isn't a bad person. They did a bad thing. With us, it's so much harder to separate the two. So then it becomes so much harder to forgive us for doing the thing because inherently I'd have to forgive myself for being me in our minds in this warped way. But it is that intentional lack of separation within ourselves where the things we do becomes who we are in our minds and how we define ourselves.
100%.
So I think that's why it's so difficult to forgive ourselves. Yeah.
Now, what is something you've had to learn to forgive yourself for?
Not trusting my instinct. Like it's one thing that I'm
actually that is an entire podcast episode. Another one on its own, actually.
Honestly, is like, God is so gracious. That woman, we're so gentle. He didn't make us very physically strong, but he made us very intuitively strong. So our inner voice, or like your I don't know what it is, your gut instinct as we call it, is your saving grace. Like it's God whispering, and I always call it my God whispers, but I'm just like, what is he whispering to me in that point in time? And I'm just my opinion, but like God's a girl dad, so he watches out for his girls. He's got very protective of his girls.
He does.
So he inherently wants to protect us, and he whispers to us so instinctively from an early age. And I had to forgive myself for not listening to my inner voice, because I'm like, and listening to my instinct, because I'm just like, when people prove me right, and I'm like, gosh, like I should have just listened to myself. Exactly. I should have just listened to myself. I would have avoided all this heartache. I would have avoided all of this disappointment, but we don't. And then you're constantly being proven wrong. However, this is the important part, I guess, of having grace and being gracious and forgiving of yourself is if I always listened to my voice and never gave people the benefit of the doubt
and that grace,
I'd never trust anyone.
Wow.
So I also feel like it'll make me a whole lot heavier. So I feel like it is a balance. Like listen to the voice. And sometimes it's also like, what is the voice like from a past hurt, which is another conversation entirely. Where does the voice emanate from? Understanding where the voice moves from. And then obviously understanding, okay, cool, this is something that I should listen to, shouldn't listen to. But yeah, I think that's the one thing that I've had to forgive myself for is when things go pear-shaped and I knew they were going to.
Yeah. And that inner voice you spoke of, I really believe it is the Holy Spirit,
It is, absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Now, let's speak about the now. What does self-forgiveness look like for you now?
It's like, I call it laundry, doing laundry.
Yeah.
You know, you separate the dark
I
from
love
the
your
whites.
analogies, by the way. Best analogies.
I call it doing laundry. And you need to separate the darks and the lights before you put it in the washing machine if you're doing laundry the right way, like our mothers taught us. Yes.
That is awesome, actually.
And
doing
I
the
think,
laundry.
yes, it's doing the laundry.
Wow.
And self-forgiveness looks like, okay, cool, I'm not going to ignore the fact that there is this darkness, but I am going to separate it and take it away from my light, and I'm not going to let it impact my light. I'm going to say, okay, cool, this is the mistake, and I'm going to take the light from it. And for me, the light is not only the good things, it's the lessons, the hard lessons. I'm going to take the lesson, but I'm not going to carry the thing, because that would make my life heavier. And, you know, people always talk about baggage, and we throw around this term of baggage. I'm like, it's not a bad thing for me to carry weight, but is it weight I should be carrying? And separating the light. And that's why for me, it's separating the lights from the darks, leaving the darks where they are, the bad feelings, the ugly feelings that come with making a mistake, and taking the lessons, taking the, I know better next time from that. So I think that's, for me, what self-forgiveness looks like these
Amazing,
days.
friend. And you know what? That's forever going to live rent-free in my mind.
Yes.
Doing the laundry. That's so powerful. So profound.
Thanks, yes.
Thank you, friend. Now, I want us to talk about softness versus strength.
Yeah.
Now, growing up, what were you taught about strength?
I always thought that strength was a boy thing, if I'm being honest.
Masculine.
Yeah, very masculine thing. It was, even in its inherent, the way it lived in females, it had to be hard. It had to be, I'm showing up regardless. I have a very strong, independent mom that has been through, and I mean, we can all say this because we come from a generation of moms that are just, I don't know, superhuman. They're just phenomenal. So watching my mom endure
so much
and endure so much was strength. So it was like, it was about how much you were able to endure, and that determined your strength.
Yes.
And it's such a misnomer, because it's like, I don't need, so we feel like in order to build strength, we have to be and experience and put ourselves through a lot, or it has to be strong and it has to be difficult. But I believe that strength changed, friend. Like it's changed, like, for me since then. But yes, definitely when we were younger, strength was hard, aggressive, fighting, harsh words, standing tall, being firm, saying loud things. And as a little bit of an introvert, not a little bit, much of an introvert, as a kid, I was the quiet kid. So I didn't feel very strong by the public definition of strength. Yeah.
Now, did softness ever feel like weakness to you?
Always, because people always made it feel that way.
Yeah.
I'm a soft-natured person. I don't really like confrontation. I don't think I shout, like, I've never had like a screaming match with somebody. I've never hit anyone.
Yeah. I can't even imagine it. And I would say they're lying on your name. If anybody ever came to me with that story, I'd be like, no, not my damn.
Lies.
Never.
So it always felt like weakness, because it feels like you have no spine, you're malleable, you just go where the wind, like push, or go where the wind blows you. It felt very like, meh. Even the word soft was like very like, nah, there was very negative connotations with it. Yeah. So that's always been what softness felt like in the past.
And then when did you realize that softness, gentleness could actually be strength? Was there a specific moment you realized that actually, hey,
as I got,
everything I've been taught, nothing probably could be further from the truth.
Yeah. I think as we got older, I think,
definitely.
Platforms like the one you're building now, so important for women to just talk openly about what the struggles are, what bugs them, how they navigate things. And softness inherently starts with vulnerability.
Yeah.
And vulnerability is really the only way that you can heal. And there's a lot of unhealed people walking around in this world, and they feel and they firmly believe that they are strong. I feel like there's a softness to it's like and anybody who's Christian will know this, but it's like there's a level of surrender that comes from it, and softness and surrendering. And it's not saying that you are giving up. It's just changing your approach, and the energy that you are given doesn't have to be met at the same level. So there is like this softness, choosing not to say something when somebody has said something harsh, choosing not to retaliate. That's softness, but it takes so much strength, because you could have said the harsh words. You could have retaliated. You could have, I'm sometimes such a petty person. You could have been petty. You could have been vindictive. You could have, and it's always the easier choice. Reacting and retaliating is so easy to do, because I'm following exactly what I feel. Softness is saying like, okay, cool. I'm not going to react. I'm going to respond. And the difference between reaction and reacting is like somebody hits you and you hit them back. Responding is a more measured approach, and that requires softness. It requires vulnerability and a little bit more reflection. It wasn't a specific moment that I can point to, that it's a lot of little lessons I've learned along the way, where lots of people are like, oh, Danny, I'm a chronic crier. Oh my gosh. Give me like I'm quite shocked that I haven't bawled today, but everything makes me cry. Puppy videos, everything.
And you just let yourself be, right?
Oh, and I let myself be. I love the fact that I'm such a crier. People will be like, oh, it is what it is. And my friends, the people who love me, love the fact that I'm such an emotional being, because I like wear my feelings and my emotions on my sleeve. You know exactly where you stand with me because of that. So I think it's and accepting that, like softness means accepting who I am. Like I'm kind, I'm gentle, and that's also what I choose to be. And softness is also just refusing to let a world change who you are. Like a world that is so hard. And I did a recording a while ago where I'm like, softness is choosing to be pink in a world that was designed for blue. Like I'm just choosing to show up as a woman. Like I'm calm. No, like I'm not going to give it energy. I don't always get it right, but that's what I choose.
And you're doing so great, friend. You're doing so well. I'm here to tell you, you're doing great, sweetie.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome, friend. It's just so beautiful to witness the journey of just who you're constantly becoming. It's very inspiring and very encouraging, I must tell you, as a friend.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, we've been talking about how the healing journey does require softness. It does require self-compassion. It does require gentleness. Now, because you've said that it's something you're very intentional about, especially in this chapter of your life, right? Now, how has being kinder to yourself actually changed the way you move through pain?
I've become familiar with my pain. I think lots of people will think that, having the softness you require to ignore your pain. You have to ignore your pain. I've sat down with my pain. I've had conversations with my pain. I've got to know my pain.
That is very powerful.
And in that way, I was able to navigate and heal from my pain. Sometimes you sit in it and it's lonely. People think that self-work and healing is this like face masks and all these kind of things, and going for massages couldn't be further from the truth. It's a culmination of daily decisions. That's what healing is.
And a combination of daily decisions.
And that's it. And it's choosing in that moment. So I think, that's what it has been for me. It's like I've navigated my pain by getting to know it, sitting down and not becoming friends with it, because people are two very different journeys. Don't become friends with your pain that it becomes so familiar that you hold onto it and carry it with you. Be familiar with your pain so that you can navigate it, and that you know what is triggering for you and what will be triggering for you. And by getting to know your pain, you're able to respond better because you know yourself better, and your pain is part of who you are.
And you're able to self-regulate,
100%, yeah.
Amazing.
Yes.
Wow. Now, I want us to actually move into talking about actually practicing self-compassion in real life, because I do believe it's like we're talking about how intentional you need to be about it. It's something very deliberate, right? It's small habits that
Yeah.
inform that.
Yeah.
Now, what small daily habits help you be gentler with yourself? Do you have any rituals?
So I think it's just about, and a lot of people will be like, you start your day off strong with your manifestations, which we all do, and being aware and choosing who you want to be that day, regardless of what the day is going to look like. But I think also for me, it's just chats with inner me, like daily. Like I'm just like, check you, hun. Like, how am I going to check you? How am I going to regulate? How can I respond better? I feel like it's not something that we have to, that doesn't have to be this whole process, but it's having little conversations with yourself throughout the day. And people, like, I'm literally look nuts, I'm sure, because
Speaking
speaking to myself. I talk to myself all day.
But it works.
It works. So I think that's the one thing is talk to yourself. Talk to yourself. You sometimes your best company. I love being by myself. I love my own company. But also I had to learn to love my own company by learning to love me and getting to know me. So I think that's it for me. That's the one habit is just having honest conversations with myself. And if you can't have honest conversations with your own self, how are you going to have honest conversations with anybody else in your life?
100%.
So start practicing on your own.
Yeah.
And that's it. And my daily habit, talking to myself. As crazy as it sounds.
It's amazing, friend. It works.
Yes.
It actually does work.
Yeah.
Now, when you do make mistakes now, how do you respond? How do you respond now to that?
I take what I can from it. So mistakes are hard and they're going to happen. It's life. Like, you're never going to be perfect. You're going to respond. You're going to react. You're going to, you're not going to be Gandhi about everything. And you're not going to. Exactly. Everything's always not so measured and like controlled.
Yeah.
There's things that are very like highly emotional situations where you do something that you regret. And for me now, I just wait. Like I'm just like, sometimes you don't have to deal with yourself. Sometimes you just don't have to deal with yourself at that point in time. Like, when like you're having
I'm going to make a mental note of this. Sometimes you don't have to deal with yourself at that point in time.
Like emotions are high. People give dating advice the same way. Like sometimes when the emotions are high, let's not have the conversation then because we're not able to engage on the topic. Because now it just becomes the tit for tat thing. We need to approach that in the same way with ourselves. Like in that moment when you made the mistake is not the time to be reflective.
Yeah.
You just need to get from that point out of it. So like, how do I fix this now? And that's the immediate reaction because I need to fix it. And then sit with yourself and be like, okay, cool. Well, a lot of us, we miss that. Sit with yourself, give yourself a day and be like, have a cup of tea. I normally do it over a cup of spearmint tea and have a cup of tea or coffee or do something. And you're sitting in the bath, standing in the shower and being like, how could I have managed that better? And I think giving yourself that space, like literally like not having your conversation with yourself at that point in time means that it's not so, the emotions aren't as heightened, which means you're less likely to respond or react in a very inflammatory way towards yourself. So give yourself some space. Yeah.
I love that. Oh my goodness, friend, I must say, this is so encouraging in so many ways. Just listening to you and how you're just navigating your way through life. It's so encouraging.
Thanks.
And it's something I just didn't know I needed today as much as I did. Oh my God. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you, friend. Now, what is one sentence of kindness you wish everybody could say to themselves? You've thrown in a lot of nuggets today, by the way. I'm just like, mental. But if you could say, especially to women, because again, we're very hard on ourselves, right?
Yes.
If you could just want them to remember anything at any point in time when they're being harsh to themselves or having those conversations where they really aren't exercising self-compassion, what would you want them to go back to and remember in that moment?
I think two things I'm going to leave everybody with is to ask yourself the same questions you would if you were going to say something to somebody else. So is it kind, what I'm saying to myself? Is it necessary? And isn't going to change anything. So I think sometimes the conversations we have with ourselves have to feel productive. Like and if it's not going to change anything and you're just berating yourself, is it necessary to say those kind of things to yourself? And then the second thing is just, which is related to all of this, is like the precursor to being kinder to yourself is healing. So just invest in your healing. Go to therapy. Go to church, find a community that supports you, and if you don't go to church, find a community that loves you, accepts you. Heal so that your life doesn't feel like an emotional landmine where you're constantly like being triggered every day and reacting all day. It's so exhausting.
It is.
It's not to say that, things aren't going to be triggering, but knowing yourself better and healing from things means that you're able to navigate them a lot easier, and it's not so explosive every time you're triggered. It's just more like this beautiful dance that you are doing between like lessons. And it feels a little bit more kinder, I think, if you do things to yourself and for yourself that way. So yeah, in that shall go to therapy, babes. Couldn't recommend it more. I love my therapist. Thanks, Mel.
Well, I love her because every time I speak to you, friend, I literally feel like I'm healing.
Yes.
I promise you.
Oh, that's what
I
it is.
literally am always just left feeling so encouraged. I mean, I've been saying this, but I mean,
Yes.
I'll never say it enough. Just speaking to you is always just so therapeutic.
Oh, thanks. And I think it's also like, on the therapy front, and I'm like going to harp on for it for a little bit. But for the longest time, it took me a long time to find a therapist. And date your therapists. Date therapists. Go find a therapist that resonates with you, that feels good when you talk to them, that the sessions feel productive, and it's not like how does this make you feel every session. Find your therapist for yourself. And there's one therapist that I actually went to a long time ago, and he gave me such wonderful advice. And I still remember it to this day. It's also fundamentally changed also after I'd given birth with Cole. I went to therapy and I said to him, I did therapy that day, and I said to him, I'm like, I was having this conversation about like the way I speak to myself. And he's like, who's your favorite person in the world? And I'm like, obviously Cole is my favorite human on this planet. Obviously. And he's like, who's his favorite person?
Oh my
and
God.
Who's Cole's favorite person?
You can't make it. Right? Oh my goodness.
Who's Cole's favorite person? And I was like, me, I would think. It changes between me and dad based on his age. But at that point in time, it was definitely mom was his favorite person. And he said to me, is that how you would like your favorites to talk to your favorite person's favorite person? And it changed things fundamentally for me entirely, because I'm like, I'm not talking to me, I'm talking to Cole's mom. And is that how I want to talk to Cole's mom? And that was just, so that's another piece of advice I'd leave with everyone. Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Yes.
There is something I heard actually recently, and I actually wrote it down, and I think this should be a closing thought, especially for our listeners. It said, maybe healing isn't becoming someone new. Maybe it's finally learning to hold ourselves with love. And that is what I wish for our audience today. I wish that, it is my hope that you are able to start speaking to yourself intentionally with kindness and gentleness and self-compassion. Just the art of learning how to be gentle with yourself is a very, very necessary one. And I hope that this was healing for anybody who is going to be viewing this. And friend, again, thank you so much. This has just been so incredible and just so healing. And yes, it's a journey and we don't always get it right, but it's so nice to be constantly to be reminded that, it is necessary for the journey of healing that we do be gentle and kind and soft and compassionate with ourselves.
Yeah.
So thank you for this conversation. It really gave me everything it needed to give. To all our listeners, I just want to remind you to be gentle with yourself today. Speak to yourself kindly. You are allowed to grow slowly. You are allowed to rest. And you're always, always worthy of love. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And until our next conversation, bye. I'll see you in the next episode.